As you can see, King Benjamin has delegated once again his duties. And if anybody's interested in doing this next week, please raise your hand so Benjamin knows who's calling.
No, I'm there. I'm interested next week.
Sure you are.
I am.
Welcome to those sitting in. We okay, Ken? Oh, okay, good idea.
Wow.
I'm sorry, President Steve, who is on Zoom?
Oh, I'm happy to announce I can see Carol. Hi, Carol. And I can see Nancy Cohen and Christine and Christine Kramer and Steve Shearer. Welcome.
All right, who would like to read or by memory give the four-way test? Benjamin?
The four-way test. Okay, yes. The four-way test of things we do, we think, say, or do, excuse me. Is it the truth? That's a question. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, Diana. Now, could I stand up there? Problem.
Yes, you're doing a great job walking. We're very impressed. Thank you to Janet Schwartz for once again reading. And John O'Keefe, it's your turn to lead the touch.
Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Jim Crane, on the day.
I'm going to share that is from the book that Dr. Myron Taylor wrote, sort of summarizing some of the speeches he gave over the years. He was pastor here locally for 30 years, which would have meant he was a member of the Western Village Rotary Club for 30 years also. And one of the things he did was he had a number of talks that he made around different Rotary clubs concerning the four-way test. And one of those talks that he gave was the integrity and the four-way test. And he talked about the first dealing with, is it the truth? This deals with the truth. And this is what he shared. That is a difficult question. What is it the truth? Finding the truth. What is right in a given situation may be difficult and even impossible. But looking for it still is necessity. There's a big difference between the person who wants to find the truth and the person who says it doesn't matter. To tell a lie is a terrible thing. To lie is to deceive another. It cuts it at the heart of trust and confidence. Basic relationships of life are shaken and can be destroyed when we lie. To face the lie, we have to be sorry, not only for what we have done, but for what we have become. That makes your heart sink in shame and disgrace. It is hard to look straight into the mirror after you lied. Sometimes we speak or perform an outlay of falsehood. Most often, we lie like co-readers from a story, slanting it a bit, leaving out something essential, exaggeration, or implication. It's not easy sometimes to tell the truth. It's often very costly. Integrity demands it. No virtue is more universally accepted as a test of good character than trustworthiness. Again, my opinion.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, past, present, and all. You're up.
Everybody read that. Everybody knows that.
No, just to make a comment on the truth. And I'm very serious. If I want to hear the truth, the absolute truth, I listen to politicians.
It's politicians.
Yeah, politicians, plural. I think in commemoration of Labor Day, like we say, I've been working on the railroad, and could you please stand? And I'm gonna call Maestro with my license to come on. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the ones that is. And here's the working hat. Okay, here we go. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Don't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morn. Don't you hear the captain shouting? Line up, blow your horn. Line, won't you blow? Line, won't you blow? Line, won't you blow your horn? Line, won't you blow? Line, won't you blow? Line, won't you blow your horn? Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Strumming on the old banjo. Fee-fi, fiddly-fi-o. Fee-fi, fiddly-i-o. Fee-fi, fiddly-i-o. Strumming on the old banjo.
Well done, and please, without Sherry, is back on the list. Thank you, past President Ed and past President Ron. Thank you to David Mark who's walking around the room getting the names of all the guests. You're doing the window.
I only got a C in spelling, so that's why.
Smart move. Also, happy September, everyone. This is the month of harvest, which means to gather. And now is the time to gather those new members that you can introduce to Mark Robo, to introduce to the college. Have at it. Visiting Rotarians, are there any? All right. Guests of Rotarians. John?
I've got a lot of very impressive guests today. I have my friend Louis Vespuccio here, who's a big fan of Verbum Day. He's an attorney in West LA and I run in Manila. Then I have a bunch of people from Verbum Day. I'm going to introduce Stephanie Rodney, who's in charge of development. That means getting money. I have Burnus. Well, they come over at Verbum Day. Okay. I have John Paul. John Paul is the Verbum Day. When you're ready, John Paul. Okay, and then I have Jesse, who's in charge of the very important work study program, the Verbum Day, and you're gonna hear more about that, about the crowds. Yeah. And then, I guess,
Any other guesses? Okay. We're both going at the same time. All right, birthdays, because I can, right? So happy birthday to Carol Collins, Yang Shen, Brian Whitney, Valeria. Happy birthday, September 11th. Wow. Ava Pablo is a very, very long time ago member. Benjamin Fisher, oh wait, September 19th.
And I wanted to meet you.
Oh, I think we can have fun with that.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
And of course, past President Eccles, adorable wife Kathy. Happy birthday, everybody. And I don't know what the charge is, Terry, I sent you now. Yeah. All right, happy anniversary, Stephen Marsh Day.
Yeah.
37 years.
Wow.
I think that's worth a big fine, don't you, Terry?
Yeah,
I'm very conflicted on certainty.
I already told them what the fine's gonna be. Okay? Because he's missing me.
We're away there.
Yeah, he's missing my birthday, so he gets a double fine.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. All right, Rotary Day, again, Ava and Joy are long time ago members. I've been here 12 years, it sometimes feels like about 120, but nonetheless, I'm having a good time. All right, thank you. So, next. What do real estate agents have a lot to be thankful for, or have to be thankful for?
low interest rates.
Lots.
Lots.
Mark Rover is here to talk to us about the new changes.
He doesn't look happy, I don't know why.
Just when I thought it'd be easier, here comes a settlement between in a class action suit. The Justice is still reviewing it. And the National Association of Realtors got pretty cocky about it. They thought, nah, we'll never lose this one. Well, they lost it for $480 million. Whoa. So now, all kinds of new rules. First of all, Ron, if I'm gonna sell your house, if it was before August the 17th, you and I would write up an agreement. Okay, my boss, Compass, would make a deal with you. And typically, it's get to the commission part, it's a 5% commission, 2.5% to the listing side. And you and I are gonna agree, we're gonna give 2.5% to the buyer's side, okay? Lawsuit says you and I have nothing to do with the commission between buyer and buyer's agent. That's up to them. We are not a part of that anymore. It's no longer on the MLS. $2,500 fine if you violate it the first time. I can't imagine what it would be after that. So you and I are now going to only negotiate a commission between Compass and seller, period. Buyer's on his own. All right, now let's get to the second half of this. All of you who are attorneys should once again be ashamed of yourselves, okay, at what you guys put together for this ridiculous part on the buyer's side. Buyers are no longer required to have an agent. A buyer can walk, buyers now have to have this gigantic bunch of words that they have to sign in before they can walk into an open house. I had my first open house under the new rules this Sunday. I can only imagine how many of them are just gonna look at me and tell me to go F myself. Okay, but they've got to sign something that designates the buyers as either creating a fiduciary between them and the listing agent of the property they're going into, or them and a agent of their own, or they just say, I don't want to be represented by an agent, I'm going to be an unrepresented buyer. Well, that's fine if you're in Biloxi, Mississippi, buying a $50,000 house. But on this side of town, you're going to walk in unrepresented. That's like walking into a criminal trial for murder and saying, Your Honor, I represent myself, you know. It's suicide, but buyers now have a right to do that. Now, Ron and I can have an additional discussion about if I get stuck with a buyer, an unrepresented buyer, okay, I get an additional commission of 1% to handle the paperwork and manage the deal. But I'm not allowed to talk to that buyer and give them strategy or fill in forms for them or give them advice on comps. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. If the buyer is going to give me a form they filled out that's got a huge mistake, I am going to intercede anyway. Say, really, you don't want to do this. You know, you check the wrong box or you miss the box or something. You know, I've already told my compliance officer that the Department of Justice is going to make me their poster boy at the end of this year. Be so many violations. When I'm in an open house at Ron's house, and you all walk in, okay, I'm not allowed to talk to you if you already have a relationship, a signed agreement with an agent, and your agent is representing you. I'm not allowed to talk to you. It's a dumbest thing. But that's what the rules are. I'm only allowed to talk to you and answer questions if you're an unrepresented buyer. Now, it gets even further ridiculous. If you are a buyer, all right, Ed Gold, you and Kathy decide, okay, you're going to move out of the house and you're going to go buy a house somewhere else. Okay. Your agent, you have to have an agreement with an agent. You call me and you say, Mark, I want you to get me condos on the ocean. Let's go look at condos on the ocean border. I am not allowed to take you out, take you on a tour, to FaceTime you with you at home with Kathy looking at it, or even discuss it with you until you and I have a buyer's compensation agreement, a written agreement, okay, that stipulates the commission you and I are agreeing to between buyer and buyer's agent. Okay, so I can't take anybody out without that written agreement. I can't allow, as selling Ron's house, I can't allow somebody in with an agent unless I know they have a buyer's commission agreement already signed. So, and I'm only rushing the topic. So what does this mean? It means this. If you are going to sell your house, okay, you are only obligated to the commission between you and your listing agent. You can elect to voluntarily make your deal more enhanced to the buyers to say, I will consider a seller's concession to pay for the commission to the buyer, but you don't have to anymore. That's up to you voluntarily. And if you want to buy something, you cannot engage the services or use the services of a licensed real estate agent unless you have negotiated the commission between the two of you and you have a written buyer's commission agreement. Okay? So there's that's the sum and summary of it all. Well, thank you.
Mark, let me ask you.
Wait.
One.
You're going to turn down Tom Barrett?
Come first.
Just one question. You said $480 million. Who has to pay the $400 million?
National Association of Realtors.
So where did they get the money?
From their members, we pay dues.
Is that going to be a problem?
It's spread out over 4 years. But yeah, it will have a huge impact on NAR's ability to have a fighting force in Washington and in all 50 states to kind of influence real estate law.
And who gets the money? Somebody, the attorneys?
All the class action suit with all the participants in that, which we all know is the attorneys.
And the attorneys are what, at 40%?
The attorneys have turned in their first bill, $100 million. Good.
And all the attorneys who are members of the club, Mark Scholarship.
No, it doesn't. Not on this.
Okay, announcements.
I say one as an attorney,
Yeah.
very quickly, the realtors in the state of California spent millions of dollars to defeat Prop 13 when the law changed in 2001. Thank them for all the taxes that went up because of the loss of Prop 13.
And 19. You should
Okay,
wait for them.
announcements. I might have scared everybody because I don't have the good sheet. So September 21st is the day of peace at Point Carmen Park, which is down by Long Beach. Marcia, Day and I are going to set up a table. San Pedro, no. Oh, I'm sorry.
Marcia Hunt.
Marcia Hunt.
She's gonna be in that one.
We're going to set up a table. You're welcome to join us. They will be honoring, we took it out. Okay, well, we'll get to their honoring later. Also, for those of you that want to have a good time, we're having our next board meeting on September 16th at my office, 1401 South Diplomata. You're welcome to join us. You just need to RSVP beforehand. Okay, then we got the Maui trip, which is already sold out, so we're kind of done with that. And November 2nd, of course, as you know, Steve sent out an email. You need to get your tickets purchased and back to the district.
Oh, actually, if I can modify that, Diane. I gave some tickets out last week. There's more being made. So some of you got tickets and you already returned your stubs and your checks to me. Thank you. For those who got the tickets and haven't yet, please get those tickets back to me as soon as you can. I got texting with Tori, and she said that this group are manufacturing a lot more tickets because there's a lot more that we need. As I said last week, we're around, well, right now we're about $500 in purchases, so I thank everyone for that. Well on our way to matching last year. So again, I'll have more tickets in the next couple of weeks, but if you already have your book, there's no reason to hesitate. Nor, for that matter, write me, or I'm not saying me, write the Rotary Foundation a check, refer to the email I sent out. And you can write me a check, or write Rotary Foundation and give me the check, and I'll hold it until the tickets are available, and we can put those out back. Also, right now we have a couple of tables, one generously donated by Mark Rogo, and we're inviting guests to that. But we also have the other table, and right now we have, I think, 12 members. So Mark, I might need to use two of your chairs if you don't mind. So we'll have about 2 tables there. So I thank everyone for that. If you're interested in going, please let me know. It costs $150 per person. It's so fine. It comes a lot of fun. Thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. All right, I think any other announcements? All right. We are ready, John, okay, for a short introduction.
Introduction. Because I got a bell. It's not gonna be fun.
A short introduction. That's very difficult for Father Francis for Verbum Day. It's a very great story about both. I gotta cut it down. So please don't boo me too long. I am gonna cut it down. I'm pleased to introduce Father Travis Russell, who's the president of Verbum Day High School. Here I'm going to call it Verbum. Verbum. Verbum is in Watch area of LA. Probably doing the Jesuit priesthood in 2008. From Monroe, Oregon, with working class parents, where he learned the value of hard work. Father believes that this is important, the talent is evenly distributed. Often opportunity is not evenly distributed. He's going to tell you about that in regard to the boys at Verb. His goal is to make the school Verb the best college preparatory school in Los Angeles. And he's headed that way for sure. He has a gigantic academic background, which I don't want to spend too much time on, except to say that he got a master's degree in philosophy from Loyola University of Chicago. Guess what? That's my school. And he got a Master of Divinity degree from Boston College. Guess what? That's where girls all went. He went to Georgetown for an MBA. He's on the board of trustees of Loyola Marymount University. And he's done parish work in San Francisco and mission work with the Jesuits. Let's have a warm Westwood Village Rotary welcome for Father Travis Wells.
I'm so happy to attend.
John and I found out that we were both alum of Loyola Chicago, and he says, "Dang, that's why you're so smart." It doesn't explain the good looks though, John. Well, thank you for having me and for hosting me, and thank you, John, for being such a champion, and also Lou, who's here, has always been a champion and supporter of the Verb. We rely on that to make our mission work, and it's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about that mission. But before I do, I want to draw on that philosophy. I remember taking philosophy back at Loyola Chicago, and you guys talked about truth. And American pragmatism of the school of thought, truth, they thought that if it works, it might be true. If it doesn't work, it's not true. And that's a very American approach to trying to understand truth. And so my message today, my thesis, is that Verbum Dei works. And there's no better investment in Los Angeles than Verbum Dei Jesuit High School. Also, a friend of mine gave me this pin, and it's by a sports writer. And it says, quote, "Most geniuses, especially those who lead others, prosper not by deconstructing intricate complexities, but by exploiting unrecognized simplicities." Verbum Dei is not complex. It's very simple, and it works. So I'm happy to share more about that with you today. So today I want to just go over our history. I know you've heard about Verbum Dei before, but maybe you haven't heard about our history, and then hear from our students who they are embody what Verbum Dei aspires to. A little bit more about our school, the corporate work study program, which makes us unique. We're the only high school in Los Angeles with the corporate work study program, and sponsor a scholar. But first, that's me with my mom. My mom was a hairdresser and my dad was a logger. And from a very young age, I learned the importance of hard work and seeing my parents as blue collar. None of them had a college degree. And I recently was at the table with, I think everyone was a billionaire or close to, and we started sharing our stories, except for me, I was not a billionaire. But we all had one thing in common. We all had summer jobs when growing up. And that was the common denominator around that. And so Verbum Dei, as you will see, we try to take those values of hard work, good moral character, and we try to educate our students and so that they can continue to carry those and be leaders in the world. Verbum Dei was founded in 1962 as a response. There was a Cardinal McIntyre, who's kind of a famous cardinal here, a lot of LA Catholicism. You'll notice the architecture developed around him. And he was an interesting, complex guy, but he was one hell of a businessman. As part of his big business scaling model, where if you built an affluent parish or school, you would then build a school in a more neglected part of the city. And so Verbum Dei was founded to minister to the Black community in Los. So the Catholic Church did not have a foothold there. And so he invited the Divine Word Fathers and Father Francis, you'll see there on the right-hand side. He was the first principal, but more important, he was the first Black principal of any Catholic school. high school in the United States. And he later became the fourth African-American bishop in the United States, the Bishop of New York. Our chapel there, a little piece of history, every bishop has to have their own, they call it titular church. Our chapel was his titular church, so it was often affectionately referred to as the Bishop of Watts. But in 1965, so 3 years after the Watts riots happened, and one of the things I looked through all our yearbooks, that is a picture on the very right-hand side of the students surrounding Verbum Day and protecting it from being destroyed when the neighborhood burned down. So Verbum Day has never been touched in any of those kind of social changes and movements that have happened there. And in the yearbook, I found the students, they said there's two ways to respond to the problem of social injustice. One is you can burn everything down and try to deconstruct it. But in the end, that may be therapeutic, but you're still left with the same social problems. Or two, you can try to be an agent of change to do something about it. And I like to think that we can carry on that tradition, although we're very much schooled in 1965. We continue to carry on that tradition and those values. Soon after, though, in the 1970s, Verbum Day became a powerhouse of sports. We produced huge amount of professional athletes, especially in football and basketball, primarily in basketball. And then we have a letter found in our archives from then Governor Ronald Reagan congratulating Verbum Day. And they were not just state champions, they were national champions several years in a row. And it became an athletic powerhouse, and that's what it was known for many, many years. Then in 1992, the LA riots happened, and again, that community was affected through things like the crack epidemic, gangs, and a lot of social unrest. So again, the community burnt down, but Verbum Day stayed afloat. And that was done by very influential members in the Los Angeles community, because Verbum Day by its lowest had about 100 enrollment. It was upside down financially bankrupt. And thanks to a generous gift from John and Dorothy Shea, it remained open. And then they invited the Jesuits in, Cardinal Mahoney at the time. And he said, this is our only school serving the Black community, and we cannot have this shut down. So he asked if the Jesuits would take it over. If we took it over, we developed this innovative corporate work study model, which I will tell you more about. So I'll leave you with that cliffhanger, and I want you to say, they always say in business, you always want to lick up with your product, meaning it's the product that matters the most. And so our students, I want to, these are the shining examples of Verbum Day. So I want to invite John Paul and Bertus to give you a little bit about who they are and what they do.
So, good afternoon. My name is Jean-Paul Guadalupe, and I am a junior at Verbum Day Jesuit High School. And I work at a company that does private investments and equity trading called Capital. My experience at Verb has been exciting, and every day when I walk into campus, I always expect something new or something good to happen. Any new opportunities or possibly new friends that come in, I'm always excited. I'm also excited for any new sports or any new classes that come in, such as any new APs or any new advanced courses. I also get excited clubs that I like to join. So, for example, part of the club known as Jedi's, which is a religious club that involves helping with the liturgies that occur at Verb, and also helps a lot around the community of Watts in general. Now, about the corporate work study program, as I mentioned, I worked at Capital, and there, it's probably one of my favorite experiences at Verb and the program itself. There, I worked with fixed income and bond trading, and And I also work with wonderful people who are always welcoming. They always care, and they always want to teach me something new. And one of those things they've been teaching me is about money. And in the future, I want to be educated about money, so I can provide for my family, or maybe I can get into trading itself, maybe into stocks, and so far that's it.
Afternoon. My name is Ernest James. I've been at Verbum for 3 years, my third year. I was an incoming freshman in 2022. So I had a lot of experience at Verbum. I worked for 3 years. A lot of the students in my class didn't have the opportunity to work our freshman year because of COVID. Yeah. But I was given the opportunity to work. Unbeknownst to me, I did not know what I was getting into. Because my job is very prestigious. I actually looked it up online. It's an aerospace manufacturing company. It's called Glen. So I'm all the way in Glendale. Well, it's aerospace manufacturing company all the way in Glendale. It's called Glen. It's a pretty far drive. So I met a lot of people at work, I met a lot of people at school. And truthfully, I could be both places all day I would. The community for school is not like the community for a job. The community for a job is not like the community for a school. But I've always enjoyed my school community, and I love my job. It's a lot of great people in both places. So I want to go to college to be a civil engineer. And I'm also thinking about dual majoring in psychology to help my social skills. I like to know people, I like to talk, but I also like to listen to people's problems because I feel like people always have something important to say, and not a lot of people want to hear. So I like to be a hearing for some people. So, thank you.
They were very nervous, but as a junior in high school, I would never be able to do any of that. I would not know what equity and bonds are, or I would not have had the emotional intelligence to say that I actually wanted to listen to people because they're interesting and they might have something to say. So as you can see, these are two students of around 315 now. We hope to grow to 350, but we were hurt because of the pandemic, because our enrollment depends on jobs. But let me just go into why Verbum Day. This is the question that I want to try to answer today. You see our motto up there: work hard, play just play hard. First of all, we're in Watts. And I think that is, if you were to go anywhere around the world, and you told someone Watts and you started telling about the history of Watts and the culture and the people who came from Watts, they would know the community of Watts anywhere around the world. It's a world-renowned neighborhood. And I think it's very important for the city of Los Angeles. Two is we're surrounded by family schools. We just had a school closed. We had 2 shootings ourselves, one at a football game at a public school we played last year where a teacher was shot. And we also had a shooting out in front of the school last year. And yet it remains a vibrant community, but the community has been neglected by the city, quite frankly, and the public school system is an absolute mess down there. And as I said earlier, as John said, I do believe potential is universal, however, opportunity is not. And there's a lot of frustrated potential down in Watts. We have a lot of small, talented young men there who are not being served by our educational system. Third, it's an all-boys school. I'm a big proponent of that, and of course I'm biased being a president of an all-boys school. But if you look at the statistics today, especially in communities like ours, there is going to be a huge social cliff or demographic trouble because boys are not entering college at the same rate that their female counterparts are, their peers. And there is going to be a huge deficit, especially in different industries, but especially in the care economy, things like psychology, doctors, things like this. And we all know from research, it's important for people who are served by the care economy to see people who look like them because they might be able to imagine that they could be that too. And so eventually we would be coming out of a social demographic cliff coming up in performance and achieving college gap. Also, as I said, we were founded in 1962, but we run like a startup. We are the leanest company, and we have to survive. And I think that is a strength. Having studied business and being at the business school at Georgetown, everybody was looking for that secret sauce of being a traditional company yet remaining hungry like a startup, and we embody that. And so I think that's part of our competitive advantage. And finally, we're a Jesuit school, and Jesuits have been known world round for 500 years for quality, rigorous education, for academic excellence. And so I think that's important to bring down to Watts. It shouldn't be reserved for only the people who could afford it, which unfortunately private education has become that. So we are the school that works, all of our students work, and that's part of, it's a business model as well as an education model, and I'll let Jesse talk about it. But since I've become president 2 years ago, we decided to aim high. We want to be the most innovative, best-in-class college prep school in Los Angeles. We want to empower young men and families through rigorous education, professional work experience, and faith and service, forming what we call men for others, leaders with competence, conscience, and compassion, ready to impact our communities and beyond. I've traveled, when I first came here, I traveled to every college prep school, prestigious college prep school. I live at Loyola. I went to Harvard Westlake. And my question always coming back to Watts was, why doesn't Watts deserve one of these schools right in its own backyard? Why do we have to bust kids out of here to give them this type of education? And I think that's a revolutionary thought. So this is a sneak peek. We're going to launch a campaign to build what we call the enterprise and innovation building, where, again, that's like we are old school. It's like a shop class for the 21st century, 3D printers, and all where we know that these economies are going to come because we want our students to lead these industries. But I'm going to leave you with this, and so we can take question and answers and straight up. But when I first got there, I took these two photos, and one is a colored photo that was taken in just this year, and all I did was turn it black and white. And my challenge to you is to tell me which picture was taken in 1962 and which picture was taken in 2024. You can't hardly tell the difference. Those photos could have been taken at any time, and that is the problem in the community of Watts. There has been no development since 1962. And for me to be living in this world-class city, for me, that is not a source of pride, but a source of call to action to do something. Because, as I said, this community has produced great talent. Despite the odds, they have produced and overcome, but now it's time to respond to the potential that is frustrated down there. So finally, I just want to say our average family makes $49,000 for a family of four. That's their gross income, $49,000. So we serve students only near the federal poverty line. So I want to imagine, try for you all, to a family of four, try imagine raising a family in Los Angeles making $49,000 a year. Now imagine you have kids and all the dreams and hopes you have for your kids and wanting them to have quality access to education, and you know the only choice is private education in that area. How are you going to afford $49,000 to raise 4 kids and to put food on the table? You're going to live in multi-generational housing, probably be seen on some types of program, and you're going to be looking for an opportunity, and that's what Verbum Day is. So our cost of education is covered by our corporate work study program. You'll see in that light blue, we only charge on average $1,200 a year for tuition. We say every family to have a little skin in the game, And then also by philanthropy is about 65%. But I'm gonna let Jesse focus on the educational model of the corporate work study program and advice.
Great, thanks, Bob, Travis. And I'll go back to this slide here. And the corporate work study program, as you see, not only helps cover some of the costs to educate the students, but it's also a major part of the formation of the students. How many of you held a job while in high school? I'm in the right room. We can all agree that the lessons that you learned during those key years transcended time and probably stuck with you for decades to come as you build your careers. And that's exactly the chance that our students get to do, except they get to do it at Capital Group and at Glen Eyre. And you might have had some pretty cool jobs with that. I'm gonna bet that they probably weren't at places like Capital Group and Glen Eyre. But that's the whole point, right? That the students are placed in places where they're rubbing elbows with influential business leaders, folks that are now gonna be part of their professional network as they're going towards college. Now, college important, that degree is also important to create pathways towards stability and economic growth. However, we all know that that's just not enough. College degree is sweet, but it's not necessarily going to guarantee that you land a great job, land a great internship, and that you're able to move towards another socioeconomic status, which is what we're trying to do here. Position our students to change the trajectory of themselves and their families, because we know if we impact one person in that family, you're going to impact the rest. And that's what I've got a chance to be a part of the last 3 years. And in the same way that Paul and Travis showed you a couple of clips, 1965, 1992, I have a feeling in about a decade, we're going to talk about the pandemic and the impact it's had on the school and the corporate work study program. In fact, coming out of the pandemic, we had enough jobs for about 48% of the students. This is really scary because it plays a significant role in, again, not only the operation of the school, but also in the formation of the student. I think we heard Vertus say that he was one of the lucky ones his freshman year to go off to have a work experience. And that's because post-pandemic, a lot of companies were hurt by the transition in company policy as it pertains to working in person, working remote, working hybrid. In order to run our program, we need folks to be in the office or at least available in a remote situation. I'm happy to share with you that we're now about 85% of our students working. So we've climbed in the last 3 years. And so in the same way that we're talking about the resilience of Verbum Day in 65, the resilience of Verbum Day in 92, I have a pretty good feeling we're going to be talking about Verbum Day's resilience post-pandemic as well. And that's today's invitation, is to be a part of us reaching our goal of 100% of our students being placed at jobs that are helping and contributing to their education while also forming an important part of their network, a network that's going to walk with them through their journey of high school to college and then post-college. And you see a lot of companies get really excited. Glen Eyre, Peter, their CEO, a good friend of ours now, is excited about how can this program be part of the talent pipeline. Capital Group, where John Paul works, already has hired their first student associate they had at Verbum Day, Nancy, who went off to college at Xavier down in the South, is now working at Capital. So we have companies looking at Verbum Day as a pipeline for them to start building talent earlier on in a really special part of town, but often forgotten part of town. And so I'm happy to answer questions about the details of the program, but I also don't want to overwhelm you with those details. Should I answer questions now? Should I
Just one more step.
invite
Stephanie, and then we'll take question and answers.
Perfect. If I may, Sept is going to talk to you about
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'll be brief, so we won't do questions. I'd like to take a moment to thank John, who's been an avid supporter of our Sponsor the Scholar program for the past 10 years. His commitment has gone beyond the financial support. He attends all of our galas. He's mentored the students that he's sponsored. He's truly embodied the vision of Verbum Day. And our Sponsor a Scholar program not only bridges the gap financially, but it connects the donors to the heart of our mission, which are the students of Verbum Day. So I'd like to invite you all to come down to Watts and see the incredible things that are happening. And we brought some material with us as well, so you're happy to ask questions and take whatever you want.
Yes. What percentage of students actually have a job outside? Number one, what's the ratio of their work time versus academic and classroom work?
That's a great question. So the students work once a week. Each Monday, the freshmen go to work, Tuesday, the juniors, Wednesday, the sophomores, Thursday, the seniors. On Friday, they're all on campus. So about 20% of their week, and it's a full day. They arrive at Verbum Day at 7:30. We pray together, we do a quick wellness check, and we transport them to work, and we transport them back to the school where their parents pick them up. But they spend pretty much the full day, about 9 to 4 p.m. on average, of that day. So it's about 20% of their week.
Does the students get paid by the employer, or is it just like an apprentice that they're sitting there learning about business?
It's a great question. So the company does make a contribution. The funds go to the school to cover the cost for that family. So the students don't directly get the money. In fact, the students are actually employees of the work study program. So the companies act as work sites, which is a huge perk because that eliminates the companies from having to deal with the I-9, the work permits, transportation, mandated reporting. Our team handles all that, and the company acts as the work site. We ask the work site, the company, the partner to offer three things. One, just ensure physical safety of the student, right? This is a Department of Labor program, so we want to make sure we're good there. Work projects that add value to the work site, and so we normally have departments that have work for them to complete that adds value to their experience. And third, and this is the sweet spot, is mentorship.
You took your horn, the last publication I got, I forget if it's 98% or 100% are in college.
So last year,
What was it that I read? I forget.
So last year we had 94% accepted to four-year universities, which is very important because the success rate for community colleges and two-year for our demographic is about 12%. So 94% went to four-year universities, and the rest were accepted, went to two-year junior colleges. We have now, I think it's 8 at University of Notre Dame right now. We had 6 go to LMU. We have 1 to Santa Clara. We hope to build that pipeline more to USC. So they do quite well when they go to college, but we're really looking to expand our program to 2 and through, because we all know it doesn't matter if you get into college, it matters if you graduate college. And so we have an alumni support person now who flies all around the country, visiting all our alum once a year, checking in with them, making sure they have everything they need. Their laptop broke, if they need some winter clothes, whatever that may be, and checking in on their grades, just like your parents would, and making sure they're signed up for the right classes, right sequencing. So that's our new push to make sure that we give them grades.
Thanks for highlighting that.
One other question. Are they scholarship, most of these kids to college?
Yeah, so we have 4 endowed, for example. Notre Dame, we have 4 endowed scholarships, fully endowed scholarships. Our students who are at Notre Dame, I think the most someone pays is $2,500 a year. But we do not recommend in our college guidance, we do not recommend a student taking on more than $5,000 in debt per year. We don't think the ROI is there, unless it is a big university that's proven that through things like alumni network and brand recognition that they will be an ROI on over $5,000 per year. We don't think that for a 4-year degree that it makes sense to go more than $20,000 in debt by the time you're done.
Very good.
So are all of your students from Watts?
I would say most of them, I can't give you a percentage, but like most of them are within a 5-mile radius. So Watts is actually only 2 miles by 2 miles, made up of projects, but pushing 5 miles, yes.
So do they come back and put into the community?
This is a product of our day, so we have, I think, 7 or 12 alumni working at our school now. So
Well,
just,
I'm talking about the community. You said there hasn't been any development since '62. Is there not anyone interested in helping to develop Watts so it is more?
well, I would say come down and look, because there's not, yeah, that's true, and I don't know, so I think part of what suffers, if you wanted to talk about socially, is that we are a corridor to the LA corridor. We don't have much representation, and if you looked at the district and how it's far down, it goes right to the central, and we're just a little straighter. So I don't know if there's, a lot of it is land, I don't know who it's held by, but if you come down there, you will definitely see a lot of rundown buildings, abandoned buildings are neglected, and a lot of projects that, I was at LA Times about land and water just down from the LA Times last week in Nickerson Garden. Nickerson Garden is literally we share a friendship with Nickerson Garden.
It's always been my experience that the skill sets are great, but a lot of kids graduate high school without some of the basics like how to handle an interview, how to write a resume, how to open a bank account.
Yeah, and we're starting to see sort of a national trend. We're starting to see some states mandating, right, certain courses. And we're obviously smiling because we've been putting resources behind it. So to your point, in our internship program really focuses on the soft skills. And as the students go into their internship, they start to require some of these more technical skills depending on the industry, but you're spot on. And in fact, when we talk to our business leaders that are part of the corporate work study network, that's their most common frustration with the current generation of workers, that they're missing a lot of the soft skills to handle the type of collaboration and business that they want to generate. And so there's a huge focus on that. In fact, we have a 3-week summer program dedicated solely to what does it mean to have a hallway conversation, answer the phones, reply to emails, shake someone's hand, how to dress. And in fact, that's also why we have a warning section. We want to make sure that they're in a good place before we send them out to the companies. But we couldn't agree with you more. That is the sweet spot we want to target. They'll acquire other skills as they grow and as they start to really zero in on which industry they want to be in. But I think we can all agree that there's a baseline, some fundamentals that no matter which industry you're in, they're timeless. Things like time management, presentation, some of the soft skills that I mentioned. Okay, we're on the same page.
One more, I'll say one thing. I don't even think we know the impact of COVID yet. We will know that 10 years down the road. I hired a management consultant for myself, and you don't have a management problem, you have a generational problem. The social skills and those soft skills that make you successful, like just aren't there.
A couple of observations I'd like to make around involvement there. These kids are taking a very rigorous academic program. Several of us in this room went to Jesuit high schools, Lewis did, I did. It's a very rigorous program. They only have 4 days to get 5 days worth of school done. The 5th day they're working in an office. So we've adopted students for a few years now, and at least in one case, the kid couldn't make it. Academically, it was just too much for him. So it's a 5-day-a-week program, and you only have 4 days for it, number one. Number two, I heard you say, Father, that every family pays $1,200 a year?
On average, yeah.
On average. $1,200 doesn't sound like very much for high school. But plenty of these families down there can't afford it. Every family has to pay something. They have to have a stake in the game, so to speak, And we know we're next. It's a pretty bad area. But once you get inside the campus, it's pretty safe. I'd love to take people down there because I like to go down there. It's really a cool place. And it's on Central, not a big street. Once you get inside there, it's pretty safe. I know that Stephanie has some material she wants to pass on. So please state some stuff. This is a great story. And I'm going to say, if I'm still on in Rotary, a couple years from now, I'm going to have somebody back from Verbum Day to speak again.
So thank you all, thank you, John, for being such a supporter. Just my one ask today is that you leave here today and tell someone about Verbum Day. Because it's the best kept secret in Los Angeles. You're working constantly hard and we're not very good at telling our own story because we're always there with you. But you all get champion us out in the community. So
Guests that spoke today, thank all of you. I'm sorry that Benjamin only gave me one thank you gift, he has to share. Thank you, Father. Thank you. We're back here and here to hear Mr. Hyder, I'm not going to try the first name, Chief Financial Officer for Unlisted.
It's Neeraj Sood.
Okay, whatever you say.
My neighbor.
Well, today that you're going to introduce yourself.
I am introduced.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Yeah.